Once elected, do you hope to prioritize your actions based on the wants and needs of your constituents as opposed to getting sucked into the wishy-washy compromise that we're constantly hearing about?
Wishy-washy compromise is not what we do on this campaign. No, we will. That will not be a problem. The priority will be to take care of the American people, take care of the people of Southern Arizona. That is the priority.
Because there seems to be so much that we've heard from our current representatives that bipartisanship is important, and they just don't seem to be able to get anything done.
Bipartisanship in Washington means Republicans selling conservative principles down the road in order to appear nice on MSNBC. That's what and we're starting to hear this now on a lot of the liberals in Washington, D.C. Well, you should be more bipartisan now. After 2 years of unchecked liberal power, of shredding the Constitution and bankrupting the country, now you want to be bipartisan? I don't think so. I don't think so. Ma'am?
Could you tell us more about your background?
Yes, ma'am. Here's the nitty-gritty of who I am. I was born in Ohio, Steubenville, Ohio. I moved with my family, my mother and father and sister. We moved to Montana when I was 10 years old. Graduated high school up there, went to a year at Montana State. I then joined the United States Marine Corps from there. I was stationed in 29 Palms, shipped off to Iraq. I was there for the invasion of Iraq. I was an infantry Marine. I led a squad of Marines during the invasion. After I got out of the Marine Corps in '04, I came down here. My folks had started a construction business, Don Kelly Construction. He was in construction his whole life, so was I as a kid. I signed up on the family business, worked my tail off, finally got to be a project manager. Now I manage commercial water and sewer line work. After all that work, now I'm leaving and going to Congress, so now my dad's pretty upset. Met my wife when I came down here, married her. We have 2 boys, and that's kind of me.
And you're not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer. No, sir. I should have just said that. That would have been enough. That's all anyone was waiting for. Don't say law degree. Don't say, sir.
This is a thought for later. We've got to get you elected first. But one of the problems, we have great opportunities, conservatives, and I emphasize conservative first, then I worry about politics. What I'm really worried about is a few of us in here, there's one right there, that have been teachers or substitute teachers. And if you want to raise the next generation of conservatives, you better start watching out what's going on in our public schools. Question, and I think I already know the answer for most of the people in here. You're kind of gray-haired, old silver foxes, like I'm becoming rapidly. But when I went to school, I had to read the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the amendments, the Federalist Papers. I had to read Washington's farewell address. And how many of your kids or grandkids have had to do that?
They say right now.
These people come up, these kids come up with no idea what our roots are.
They say right now that 50% of students who graduate high school and are going to college, graduated high school, going to college, 50% cannot locate the state of New York on an unmarked map of the United States of America. And you bring up a great point about that. We got to win a lot of elections, not just federal ones. If you're interested, you want to get involved, we need people running for school boards. Run for school board. It's not a glorious thing. I'm sure it's not a joy, but we can't keep just yelling about the problem. We got to start winning these elections. Liberals run for school boards. Ma'am?
I'd like to share my limited experience. I got a teaching certificate later in life. I was already 50 years old, and I taught in Arizona for 5 years. I taught in 3 different districts because I kept thinking there's got to be something else out there. This can't be how it is. The education system has been railroaded by the liberal extremes, and there is no patriotism in the schools. There is no right and wrong in the schools. We have maybe a 40-page manual of rules, but the only thing that they really care about in administration, don't sell drugs, don't bring guns to school. Outside of that, everything's up for grabs.
Don't make waves.
Exactly. And if you do make waves, if you enforce the rules in there, you get hauled in, you get said, you need to be a little more sensitive. If the kids are making out in the corner, be more sensitive when you tell them to stop. Yeah.
Mercy.
They said to me,
You have something?
yeah, Mrs. Sensky, you're too rule-oriented.
Sure.
I just have a response to what he was talking about, the public school and stuff. I'm a senior at Canyon Rural High School, and I'm taking UP government this year. And one of the requirements is you have to do 15 hours of local campaign volunteering. That's actually why I'm here, is just gain awareness. And I don't know about other people, but currently we read the Constitution and the amendments and the Bill of Rights, all that stuff so far. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of the amendments, would you speak to the Second Amendment, also the 14th?
He asked me to speak to the Second Amendment. I love it. I'm an infantry marine. What do you think? Look, an armed society is a polite society, and the crime statistics across the country show that, across the world show that. The higher the percentage of gun ownership, the lower the crime. There's a reason that there's a higher percentage of violent crime in Washington, D.C., where they have some of the strictest gun laws, than there is in Baghdad, where everybody owns an AK-47. It's not an accident, because gun laws affect the law-abiding citizen. They don't affect the crook. The crook always has his firearm. Do you have yours as well? So, we have a right to protect ourselves in this nation. Sir.
What are your thoughts on chucking the current tax code and simplifying it across the board?
He asked what my thoughts were on throwing away the current tax code and simplifying it across the board. You bet. I am a flat tax guy. A 10% flat tax for every single American. Don't punish success. Don't punish risk-taking. Every American pays a small percentage of their income into the federal government. You bet. You bet. Sir?
To follow up on this gentleman's question a while ago, he asked both about the Second and 14th Amendment, and I'd like to know what your stance is on the 17th Amendment as well.
17th Amendment, we'll get into that one in just a second. The 14th Amendment needs to be clarified right now, because if it doesn't, this anchor baby problem we have in the United States of America is going to continue. There's two different arguments right now, we'll go into both of them. On the conservative side, there is the side that I'm on that says we simply need to pass a statute that clarifies the 14th Amendment, and that will stop this problem of birthright citizenship in the United States of America. There is another side, and these are brilliant people, legal people, conservatives, who say there is enough precedent in the courts that the courts would shoot down such a statute, and you need a constitutional amendment to do so. I hope that that side is wrong, because a constitutional amendment is a difficult thing to get. We need to pass that statute, and let's find out. That's my thoughts on that. And as far as the 17th Amendment goes, well, that's another story entirely. The 17th Amendment was the amendment that decided that senators will be popularly elected by their states. Originally, I know most all of you know this, just bear with me. Originally, the senators were supposed to be appointed by their state legislatures. And the point of that was the Senate would not go there to represent Washington or to do anything else. The Senate would go there and fight for their states. That is what kept the idea of federalism alive in the United States of America, is that the senators would go there and fight for Arizona, and only Arizona, and that was all they cared about, because they were a direct representative of our state legislature. That was their purpose. Now, they got in that 17th Amendment, and that's no longer the case. I don't like it. That's my position on it. Ma'am?
I have one more question about how long the election time is for presidential elections anymore. Seems like it goes on and on and on television.
Stinking politicians.
The other thing about, could there be some limits on what they can spend? Because we don't know where all the money came from on that last of those $20 and their donations on the internet. Things like that. They need to have some kind of control over where the money comes from, and maybe cut it way down so somebody that isn't a multi-millionaire could actually run for president.
Yes, ma'am. Couple things on that. The Greeks were trying to get the money out of politics. And the Romans, and the history of man is trying to get the money out of politics. It's a pipe dream. It doesn't work. And new laws don't make it work. We've seen it with the campaign finance laws that have been passed in this country. The money just gets moved around. They're like ants. They don't go away, they just scurry to a different place. We don't need a new law, a new campaign finance law necessarily. We just need an awake and engaged